Hello again and welcome to our weekly look at Tiffin University Basketball, Dragon Basketball Weekly. Hi everybody, I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Tiffin University Dragons. To my left, head men's basketball coach, Mr. Tom Church. Coach, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Russ. Thanks for having me.
Well, we chatted for a moment before we got started, and because of a cancellation last week, we don't have a whole lot to talk about this week. It's been a little while since your kids played a ball game.
No, we've only played one game in almost the last couple weeks now. So, unfortunately, Tuesday's game before Thanksgiving was canceled, and we kind of had to regroup. But we've had a couple really hard practices since then, and just getting ready for the week.
Well, the game against Carlo had to be rescheduled. That will now be played on Sunday, December 12th. So your kids will have a back-to-back days of non-conference games that weekend. But let's talk a little bit about how that rescheduling kind of disrupted how coaches, players, creatures of habit, right?
Sure.
And you like to do things a certain way as you lead yourself up to game time. Talk a little bit about how a disruption like that kind of changes your preparation for the week.
It changed it a little bit. We ended up obviously practicing on that day, instead of playing the game. And then Wednesday we let our guys go for Thanksgiving break because we had over a week off before we play Cedarville on Thursday. So it was fine. It was good to give them a couple days off, kind of recharge, regroup, and then we were back at it on Saturday and Sunday. So we've had a couple really good practices here as we move into the week. And again, we don't play till Thursday, conference play. So, coming off of a W against Kentucky State, over a week ago, again, regrouping, we're back on track now.
Well, the game gets rescheduled, and I'm sure there's positive and negatives on that. Positive would be your kids go out and you play a good game, you get another W on your schedule. I guess, and the negative is your kids don't get to play that game, but you have to kind of recreate some of those game situations. I'm sure you did in practice and everything, because that game, as you said, has been a week and a half. You don't want there to be rust when you get to conference play, because we all know the GMAC is not going to be easy, and you go up against a team who's traditionally one of the better teams in the league to start your conference.
Oh, absolutely. And, you've seen our style of play. You've seen our depth. Especially having that Kentucky State game. So, creating that game atmosphere in practice isn't really an issue for us. So it's been good. And the rescheduling of that game actually works into our favor as well, because we'll play a back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday. Well, then we have to play a back-to-back later in the week on Friday, Saturday in Florida. So playing that back-to-back, I think will help us, eventually in the long run. It's always, we got the news actually the night before the game, so we had prepped, we were ready. But better to be safe than sorry for sure.
Do the kids like playing the back-to-back? They probably would rather play games and practice anyway, so they probably like the back-to-back, don't they?
I think so. And again, going back to a team like ours with the depth that we have, we're not going to have guys with crazy minutes to where we have to bring them back less than 24 hours later to play a game. So, we'll make it work. After last year, the rescheduling and playing back-to-backs on the road.
This is easy now.
This is easy. I think our guys are used to it. So no big deal for our program for sure.
Like I said, right now, you got the game coming up on against Cedarville on Thursday. Then the Dragons will be on the road at Ohio Dominican on Saturday. It's about a 7:30 tip-off on Thursday, about 30 minutes after the women finish, and then right around a 3 o'clock tip on Saturday when the guys are down at Ohio Dominican. But let's talk a little bit about the adjustments some of your kids have made. Some of the new kids coming in, and you don't have that extra game under your belt before you get to conference season, but you think that these new guys have adjusted well to what your style of play is, adjusted well to playing with the other guys that were here, and are they ready for Thursday?
Absolutely. Ian Lopez has gotten off to a great start. He's been certainly he's new to our program, and we're still trying to Morgan Taylor has had a really, really good start to his career here at Tiffin. And we're still trying to figure out our lineup. We're still trying to figure out our minutes. We're still trying to figure out our rotation. And going into conference play, you want those things kind of figured out. It's still up in the air whether we'll have Luke back on Thursday. We think he's going to be back. But we're still trying to figure some things out. But from a standpoint of preparation and being ready, our guys are more than ready, and we need everybody here on Thursday. So if you're listening, if you're watching, we need to have a great crowd. The girls play before us at 5:30. We play at 7:30. It's a big conference game. They're all big, but Cedarville, they're 2 and 3, but have played probably the toughest Division II schedule in the country up to this point.
Wow!
So they will definitely be prepared and ready as we will.
Well, Cedarville traditionally one of the better teams in the conference, and you look at their record, as you said, 2-3, and that's, as you
very
said, yes, deceiving.
Very deceiving.
They're playing a very rough and tumble schedule here so far, and you mentioned the depth that you have on your team, and I guess that could almost be like a double-edged sword in the fact that it's great in preparation, but then finding the minutes for everybody has got to be a little bit difficult, especially you talk about the backcourt play. You got a ton of guards who can give you quality minutes every single night.
They can, and you look at the Kentucky State game, and Devon Munson hadn't played a whole lot in the first couple games and came in and just gave us tremendous minutes off of the bench against Kentucky State. And speaking about the Kentucky State game, we played well. We're certainly capable of playing much better, which we will. But we just couldn't seem to pull away from them until the end. But I was happy with our energy level. I was happy with how we played unselfishly. The crowd was great, but it just gave us a chance to at least be on our home floor, get a W. Moving towards conference play on Thursday. So I think our guys have figured out too that as a staff, we're going to go with who's playing well, no matter who you are. So if you come in and you give good minutes and you're playing well, and we're going to find you minutes on the floor during that game. So right now, until we kind of get down to where we know exactly what our rotation is going to be, it's kind of a feel for our coaching staff and for myself to say, okay, who's playing well and who do we got to have on the floor at this point?
Yeah, who's got the hot hand? I mean,
exactly.
I think I've seen it. I think I saw it in the Kentucky State game where you were sent a guy to the scorer's table, and whoever he was going in for, hit a couple quick buckets. And you're like, get back here, back here. But sometimes it's just you got to, like you said, you got to play the hot hand.
Yeah, and I've been kind of known to do that, and our guys know that, and they're great about it too. If we go to, we look at some minutes, and if we feel like we got to get a guy out, and then he maybe hits a shot, I always hated that when I was a player. That I get taken out after I hit one. So so we make that a point to where we don't really take guys out, especially after they've made one, where that might get them going. So our guys are great about that. They know that because they know if they're on the floor and they make one, they don't want to get subbed out as well. So it's just one of those things in our program. But again, we're going with the guys that are playing well and making things happen in the game, and those are the guys that are usually going to play a few more minutes.
You mentioned the crowd at the women's game, at the Kentucky State game. The student section so far this year has been superb. How important is it for those students to come out here and support? Because your basketball players are out there supporting the football team, the baseball team, the softball team. How important is it for those other athletes to be in this gym and support your basketball players?
It's tremendous. School's in session right now. We're not on break yet, and we get when we're on break, our crowds are going to be a little bit thin, but, with the school being in session right now, it is going to be a huge advantage for us on Thursday, and we need that home court advantage against a really, really, really good Cedarville team. I mean, they've got everybody back. We've talked about the schedule that they've played already. So, if you're able to get out and support us on Thursday, men's and women's team, we'd be much appreciative of it.
Yeah, hopefully you're right here in the Gilmore Student Center, but if by chance, if there's something out of this world that happens and you can't be here, you can always go to the Great Midwest Digital Network and watch the game or listen to WTUD, TUDragonradio.com. You mentioned yourself as a player. What do you miss the most about being a player compared to being a coach?
Oh, I think just being out there in the game day preparation and actually playing and suiting up on the floor, and we tell the guys, we don't know how many guys we're going to have go and play, overseas or well after this, but there's nothing like being part of a group and being part of a team and being able to sub in and actually play in a real game. So enjoy it, and as coaches we talk a lot about it, that we'd give anything to go back and to be able to play again. So, enjoy it because it goes fast. And you have people that tell you that it goes fast, but you really don't understand it until all of a sudden, you're walking out there with your parents on senior day.
Right, absolutely. And then after that, it goes even faster.
It goes even faster, exactly.
We're talking to head coach Tom Church here to Tiffin University men's basketball team here of our Dragon Basketball Weekly. Let's talk, give me something that's really surprised you on a positive note from your kids so far this year.
I think the big thing is how far we've come, from a shooting standpoint, and we've really built this team, around the perimeter and how we can shoot it. And, we've had a couple games where I think other people have thought that we've shot it well, and we're sitting over there going like, we've seen this team get real hot, so we don't even feel that we've really touched on that yet, but that's the one thing like we've seen in practice is how well that we shoot it, and we can go on some runs. This team has some depth that we've talked a lot about, and we have a lot of different weapons, and I love the fact that it can be somebody different every single night. It doesn't have to be just our leading scorer. We don't rely on one guy or even two guys. I think right now we have maybe 4 or 5 guys averaging double figures, but even those 6th and 7th guys could lead us in scoring, and it wouldn't surprise me. So I think just our depth and the weapons that we have, and the guys like that, that it could be somebody different any night.
We've talked about the depth in the backcourt. Let's talk a little bit about the depth in the front court for you guys. You got a lot of guys that you can move in and out. Some guys that can stretch the post players out as well. Let's talk a little bit about that depth.
Yeah, we've got basically 4 guys that we're rotating right now with Tanner Johnson, Braxton Foreman, Delano Walker, and Wesley Jordan. And those guys can really stretch the floor from the perimeter. We've got some guys that can do some different things. Delano's been great on the boards for us right now. He's our low block that can step out and stretch the floor a little bit, which we're going to need. I think Braxton Foreman's given us great minutes, and we've talked about him before, just being a jack of all trades, that he can do a little bit of everything. He can post up, he can play on the perimeter. Tanner Johnson, he is a three-point specialist through and through, and he can go on some runs where he can knock down some shots. And then Wes gives us that low block presence, that we need, throughout the year, where he can not only defend other post players, but he can go inside and get an easy bucket for us as well. So
each one of those guys you mentioned stretching out, but each one of those guys love to attack the rim as well.
They can get us some baskets. They can get to the free throw line. That's been the other thing, that we've been a little bit more aggressive getting to the free throw line. So, our forwards have been, that's the one area, I think, where we've kind of got our rotation pretty much set at the forward position. It's at the guard position where we're still trying to figure some things out.
When you get yourself ready for a ball game, you always want to out-rebound the other team.
Sure.
You want to hold your turnovers to a minimum. You want to shoot high percentage. Tell us some of the other little things that you look for that can be real big keys to winning a basketball game.
Well, that's a big one for us, is our assist-to-turnover ratio. We always want to be in the positives, and when we're in the positives, we're going to give ourselves a really good chance to win. But the other thing for us specifically is possessions.
Okay.
We want to be in the 80-plus possessions for the game, which is a lot. But for us, we feel that the more possessions that we're going to have, the more shots that we can get, the pace and tempo of the game, if we can get it in our favor, we feel that that's gonna be a huge advantage for us, because we just feel, particularly in our conference, we don't think teams are prepared to play at that pace. We don't think that they have the depth that we have to be able to play at that pace. So again, we've talked to our guys a lot about possessions. The more possessions, we feel plays in a huge advantage for us. So we're going to do certain things to try to speed the game up and to get more shots.
So you're looking for those opportunities to run controlled breaks, I guess you could call it, but always looking to make sure, no matter how many possessions you get, you want a good shot every single time you got the basketball.
And a lot of people say, well, you can't play fast and not turn the ball over. We buck that trend. We want to be able to play fast and still limit our turnovers, but if we can get upwards of 16, 17 assists and just be in the plus as far as positive assist to turnover ratio, we feel we're going to give ourselves a good chance to win. But at the end of the night, we'll count our possessions, and if we're at 80 plus, we feel like we're going to be able to get a W.
You can play fast, but you also got to play smart, and I think that leads into what you're saying right there.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing too, playing smart, is playing unselfish. I think we really do have a good group of guys that they're not going to take close shots, they're not going to force shots, which then puts a strain on your defense. So we've got guys that are going to make the extra pass and really like playing together. So hopefully we see a lot of that on Thursday, and we're going to need it. We see a lot of that this week. It's going to be 2 big games for us for our program, but specifically being at home Thursday, it's going to be a big game.
How important is it for your kids to get off to a good start when you get into conference play?
Yeah, I think it is. We obviously struggled on the road last year. We were in so many tight games and just couldn't get a W. So we're going to need to win some games on the road for sure. But defending home floor, and I think our best game last year was against Cedarville at home. I think we won 77-62. Just played tremendous, and they're going to remember that, and they're going to know that. So I think being able to get off to a good start in conference, but specifically at home, will be a big challenge for us.
And then hopefully you can ride that momentum into a Saturday game on the road at Ohio Dominican, which is never an easy place to go play basketball either.
No, it's never is, and we've had some crazy games down there in my first couple of years here as a head coach. I know we came back from 17 or 18 down a couple years ago to win, and then last year we got down big, came back and tied it and couldn't get over the hump. So, being able to go on the road Saturday and get a W, would be huge if you can come off of that with a home win on Thursday. So we're going to take it one game at a time. Our focus right now is is one game left this season, and that's Thursday. And once that game's over, then we'll turn our attention Saturday to ODU.
Yeah, it's my job to keep looking forward. You stay focused.
No problems with that. That's
and
fine.
I'll keep looking forward as we get prepared to work our way through, this season. And December's a weird month of Division II because there's not as many games. They spread it out. They understand, kids got to get a little family time as well. So there's more preparation maybe in December per game than what you get once you get into January and February when you're almost playing 2 games every week, every single week.
They get into a little bit more of a routine. You're playing 2 games a week to where, we've already talked in December, we're going to have 2 weekends of back-to-back. We'll have Saturday, Sunday. We'll have Friday, Saturday. So it's nice. We get a little bit of conference play. We'll get 3 games. And then there were some other conference games scheduled that we ended up rescheduling in the back end of our season just because we have the Florida trip coming up. We've got a couple non-conference home games. So, we're one of the few teams, I think us and Walsh have only played 3 games up to this point. We obviously played the exhibition games, but only playing 3 games up to this point, and there's some teams in our conference that played 6. So, and 7 going into this week. I know that there's a couple games tonight. There's some games tomorrow before conference play on Thursday. So we'll definitely get into the meat of our schedule here in December. I think we have 7 games in December. So we'll play some games here coming up, and we'll be ready.
How was your Thanksgiving? How about just for you and your family? How about the kids?
It was wonderful. This is one of the few Thanksgivings that we've had. A couple years ago, we had the Kentucky Wesleyan trip, and we had a Thanksgiving tournament here at home. So this was one of the few Thanksgivings that we actually had some time off. So it was nice. I didn't know what to do with myself at home. But it was nice to be able to be with the family. We had family come in and to spend time with the kids, and then to get back at it here this weekend and getting ready for conference games. It was good, and I know it was good for our players to be able to spend some time with their families as well.
Right, and hopefully none of them over 80. You probably ran some of that off of them when they got back to town.
We took care of that. We took care of that this weekend for
My
sure.
My son plays high school basketball, and he said his practice the day after Thanksgiving was the hardest practice I've had so far this year.
That's always the tough ones, absolutely.
Well, Coach Schertz, as I said, Thursday it's always fun to get the conference play started, and you're going to have a pretty good idea with everybody getting it started. Where you are. You get that W against Cedarville. You look at some of the other scores around the conference, and you just kind of start thinking how things might work here. Then you got to start a winning streak in conference with the first one.
Yeah.
So go out and get Thursday, and then see what happens after that.
Well, and we've seen, we've been able to watch all of Cedarville's games, and I think they were picked to finish 4th in the conference. But they are really, really good. They've got everybody back. They have their top 8 players back from last year. So
you're going to see that a lot this year, though, right, with the extra year?
Yep, and you're going to see that a lot. And I think you're going to see a lot of upsets because you've got some guys that have gotten that extra year. And I think the other thing you're going to see is depth. I think coaches have had a hard time trying to figure out their rotation because they have more guys coming back. They're very well coached. Coach Estep, I have I've known him for a long time. Got a lot of respect for him, and he does a great job with his guys. So we know that they're going to be prepared on Thursday, and that's why we've said we need that crowd. We need the student section rocking. We need this place shoulder to shoulder and packed. It's great to see the fans back because Kentucky State was pretty much our first game to be able to really kind of pack the house. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody Thursday and to go out and get a win.
It's fun for us to see the crowd packed, but it's even more fun for your guys because we talked about it before, Coach. A packed house will always bring out the best in you.
Absolutely. The energy level, guys are going to play hard regardless, but it just gives them that little extra having the fans here. So we're looking forward to it. I know our guys are going to be looking forward to it. It's going to have been almost 2 weeks since we've played, so they're going to be jacked up and ready to go.
And Cedarville will be here, and they'll be ready to go, too. It should make for an excellent Thursday night of college basketball, Coach.
Can't wait to see everyone.
As we said, the women's game will start at 5:30. About 30 minutes after that one concludes, the men's tip will be right around 7:30-ish or so. So no reason not to be here, have an early dinner, then bring the family over to the Gilmore Student Center and catch both basketball games home in time for bedtime.
Sounds like a plan to me. Sounds good.
That's Coach Tom Church for Tiffin University men's basketball program. I'm Russell Snyder, voice of the Tiffin University Dragons. We'll let Coach Church go, get prepared for Thursday, and we'll bring in Miriam Justinger in just a moment. Coach,
thanks,
thank you
Russ.
so much.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to Dragon Basketball Weekly, our weekly look at Tiffin University basketball. I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Dragons. To my left, head women's basketball coach Miriam Justinger. Coach, how are we doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Russ.
Well, welcome in and congratulations on the big win, non-conference win over Purdue Northwest over the weekend.
Yes, thank you. It was a good win, much needed win headed into conference play. So good to see it. Let's
talk about it a little bit. A 73-60 win for the Dragons. And when I looked at when I was doing the pregame, I was looking at some of the statistical numbers. I was surprised, your rebounding totals were almost identical. So kind of preview that may be a huge part of the game, and your Dragons did a great job on the rebounds, out-rebounding the Pride in that contest. Is that a point of emphasis for you guys?
It was. The past couple games, we've been talking about limiting O-boards, and just making a concerted effort there with all 5 of us going to the boards, boxing out, also focusing on our turnovers. In the past couple games, we've been just kind of sloppy with the ball and unforced turnovers, unforced errors that are leading to points for the other team. And, our group did a good job of focusing in on those 2 areas, and we saw improvement. And then the free throw line was huge for us too. It's
27 of 33.
Yeah, which in my 4 years here, that's probably the best that we've we've seen. But that's always another goal there too, is to make more than the other team shoots. So they did a good job there, attacking the basket hard, getting to the foul line, getting those easy buckets.
Is that about being aggressive with the basketball?
100%. And it takes a toll too on the other team and their rotations and substitutions. And we were able to get some of their bench players on the floor, just getting them in foul trouble, which is all part of it. So good to see it.
It was a battle between 2 excellent guards. Ani Nichols had a huge game for you, and Brockington, I believe is her name,
yes,
for Purdue Northwest of the Pride. She was a fantastic player. How often do you see it's well documented that Ani's probably one of the best rebounding guards in our league, but have your point guard lead your team in points, rebounds, and assists, and it's not like it's the first time it's happened. It seems like it's becoming a regular thing.
Yeah, she was tough for us, number 4, and we knew that coming in. They had really good, strong guard play between her and number 1 as well.
Galbraith, I think was her name, the point guard.
Not to mention, the height inside that they had.
That's the next point I was going to make.
Yeah. So it was a good, even matchup for us, and the girls knew the game execution that we wanted to get out of them, and they knew who their scorers was, and they knew who we needed to focus on, and they did just that. And kudos to Purdue Northwest with their game execution and the players they had. They're ball players, so
they wouldn't let you pull away.
No.
You guys were trying to pull away, and they would not let you, and then they would battle back. It was like for a while that point differential was just floating back and forth between a couple possessions and then like a 3 or 4 possession game. And you mentioned their size. I think your post players did a great job. You could not rebound them if you didn't neutralize that size. And Jada Tate, one of them, 13 points, 8 rebounds. She also had 4 assists in the game as well.
Absolutely. She's been playing phenomenal for us, kind of kicking it in a second gear there, which, again, we're moving in the right direction, shaking out some cobwebs or whatever, team chemistry, whatever the thing is that, you guys shake out at the beginning of the year. We're getting rid of that, and we're seeing better ball out of everybody across the board. So it's good.
Young players getting some action as well. Dana Rose, young lady, who's playing a lot of minutes for you. Talk a little bit about the young kids and the contributions they've been making so far.
Yeah, and again, that goes to team chemistry and them finding, what am I capable of doing? Okay, I thought I would be, this role, but actually I can have a bigger role, or, maybe coach sees this role out of me, and, figuring that out like we talked about a couple weeks ago, and just kind of finding their part. And they've all taken on those challenges, and they're stepping up to the plate when we need them to, and they're coming in with big roles and a lot to handle, and they've done just that. They haven't shied away from challenges, and it's kind of that competitive edge that we knew they all had coming out of winning programs in high school is all part of that. Nobody on our bench wants to lose, and they'll do what it takes to make sure we walk away with the win. And then they've stepped up to the challenge, and it's been good.
See those wide eyes getting more into a normal size eye as they start to settle into their roles and settle into what is Division II basketball.
Yep.
So also, Jessica Chase coming off the bench, giving you 10 points. How huge is it to get a double-digit score coming off the bench for you?
Yeah, she's been consistently the past couple of years, kind of that spark plug coming off the bench.
If she hits a couple early, she's probably going to hit 3 or 4, maybe even 5 early on.
Yes, yeah, and getting her involved early in both ends of the floor. She a lot of times kind of gives us the big defensive stop that we need, and offensively we know she's capable of knocking down big shots. She did that the past weekend when we were out in Pittsburgh, knocked down a huge 3 when we needed it, and the bench seems to go extra hard for her cheering wise when she hits that big shot or makes those big plays. So yeah, her coming in and being that kind of spark plug off the bench is huge for, the group that's out there, but also just the overall atmosphere of, all right, what's our energy like? Let's check our attitudes and get right back on track.
Well, 3 girls in double digits on Saturday, and that's always nice to, be able to spread that around to a lot of people. And, Ani led your way with 19 points, and now we're moving into conference play. It's a different beast now. Everybody knows that, and it's not going to be easy for you as you start off with Cedarville this coming Thursday at 5:30 start before you go to Ohio Dominican on Saturday. Let's talk a little bit about Cedarville. We just talked to Coach Tom Church, and he talked about how important it's going to be on Thursday to have these stands filled. Our student section has been fantastic so far this year. And like we said, it's a 5:30 start. Have an early dinner. Come for both games. Home in time for the kids to be in bed. There's no reason not to be here on Thursday night. How important and how much do your kids love to see a full house over there, especially after what we went through last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Last year we had some fans at our home games.
It never felt right, though.
Yeah, some games we didn't have anybody there, and I know we've talked about that before, but Saginaw was our home opener. Unfortunately we didn't get the win, but the crowd was amazing. Student section, parents, family, friends, all of it, and that does add to the game. It adds to the excitement. It adds to the adrenaline and the intensity that our girls play at. So, hopefully we can get that same crowd out for Thursday and for both our game and the men's game, because it's right back in the conference where, like you said, it's a whole nother beast, and it's every game it's anybody's ball game, and we'll see that Thursday with some good competition.
Well, you can't be a good player if you can't provide your own energy, but it does help when there's folks over there making the place feel like it's vibrating a little bit. It does help.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about Cedarville. So they come in here 3-1. Both men's and women's side, traditionally one of the better teams in the conference. They're going to pose some problems for you. Talk a little bit about what they do, and then we'll talk a little bit about how important it is to get off to a good start when you get into conference play.
Yeah, so Cedarville, like you said, they're always, at the top of the conference there. They hosted the GMAC tournament last year, going in as winning regular season. So bringing a lot of those returners back, we'll see a lot of the same faces, same talent. They're a team that, I swear they just close their eyes and Steph Curry and pull up 3 after 3 after 3. So an emphasis on taking away shots behind the arc and making them finish around the rim will kind of be what we're looking at. They've got a new coach in this year, so offense is looking a little different than it has in the past, but still figuring out a game plan this week and making sure we're all on the same page and ready to go Thursday, because it's, like I said, it's anybody's ball game.
Well, we mentioned the rebounding effort from your kids last Saturday, the free throws. Like you say, you want to make more than the other team shoots. Give us a couple other small things that you find are keys to victory. Is it that assist to turnover margin? Is there a couple other small things that you really pay attention to that you think can really drive your team to victory?
Yeah, I think for our group, they know, the box outs is, doing the intangibles. The box outs, taking care of the ball, no silly turnovers that are unforced. Our assists were higher this past game than they have been in the past, and it means the ball is moving. It's not our shot selection's a little better. It's not just a one and done, quick shot, and those are the little things I focus on. But the group knows attitude and effort, and that's, as cliche as every coach is not coaching attitude and effort, but that's really, our group knows that. And you can't waste time coaching those things because you got basketball to worry about.
Without those things, you aren't going to do the other things well. Right. If you don't have the attitude and effort, it doesn't matter. If you can stand outside and fill it up with nobody in the gym,
right?
Once game time comes, can you still do it? And you aren't going to be able to do it very well if you don't have the right attitude and right effort.
Absolutely.
Coach Miriam Justinger, women's basketball coach here at Tiffin University on Dragon Basketball Weekly. I asked Coach Church this earlier, too. I'll ask you, what do you miss the most about being a player?
Getting buckets. No.
Yeah, scoring. Heck yeah.
I don't know. I would probably say just, like you mentioned, having the fans and packing arenas and just getting loud and, those big plays where everybody's up and cheering that kind of you're either pulling away or making a big comeback, and then just, going through all the adversity and challenges and succeeding with your teammates who become family. And,
right.
The post-game celebrations, the locker room, that's probably the biggest thing for me that I miss.
Well, you mentioned the teammates. Do you let the girls know to make sure cherish all this stuff because it's going to be gone before you even know it. Senior day will happen before you know it, and then the rest of your life's going to fly after that. Do you make sure that the kids realize you got to cherish every single moment you have with these teammates because they're going to be some of your best friends you have the rest of your life?
Yeah, I actually we just hit on that last week. I think we were a little bit in a slump. Weren't having as much fun as I've known teams to have in the past year, and I don't know. Basketball really wasn't going our way, so then everything was kind of a trickle effect. And I let them know if your basketball role is the only thing that makes you happy, you're missing out on a ton of other stuff, including those friendships, including the locker room, the bus rides, the hotel stays, the team dinners. If you're only focused on how the basketball goes, you're missing out on the real experience. And you only get this experience once, and you already got a little cheated with last year having to stay in your bubble. So let's make sure this year we're taking care of obviously things on the basketball floor, but cherishing every moment outside of it too.
Such a weird situation after last year and then coming to this year with last year, being what it was. Now this year you got everybody with the extra year of eligibility, then the young kids coming in. Coaching kids, some schools have kids that are 25, 26 years old playing basketball, and you got some kids that are coming in as freshmen at 17.
Right.
That's such a hard thing because I'm probably not making sense right now, but a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old are two totally different people.
Absolutely. It's crazy to think about. Our juniors, some of them could have 3 years left if they wanted to, and then you've got some kids who medical redshirt, you've got 4 years, and it is, making sure that you're reminding the upperclassmen, hey, you were once that 17-year-old that was brand new to everything, and, help them along. And the 17-year-old, hey, welcome to the big leagues here, and, there is more responsibility. It's not mom and dad holding your hand through it all, or, teachers giving you leeway just because you're a student athlete. So, again, working together and making sure we're all in check, making sure we're all on the same page with that as a better way to reach, multiple age groups. But it is weird, our GA is, Coach Georgia is only a couple months older than some of the girls.
Right, yeah.
And it's, it's wild to think that they could be older than her someday, still playing basketball, left with eligibility.
Yep, it's so weird. It's so weird. Well, the Dragons, we say, will be at home against Cedarville on Thursday. That's a 5:30 tip, and then on Saturday at Ohio Dominican for a 1 o'clock tip. What do you need to see out of your kids this week to make sure you're successful and get off to the right foot on conference play?
Yeah, I just think we have to be, the first 4 minutes will determine how the game's going to go, and that's remind them of that every game we step into, but especially with conference starting, shake the jitters out. It's just another basketball game, but yet again, there's a lot of pressure on these games now more than the non-cons, especially looking at, at the end of the day, only 6 teams are making the tournament, which adds more value to every game, even more than before. And our girls know that, they're aware of it, but just not letting them get too heavy with the pressure and reminding them that, again, it's more than basketball. Make sure we're having fun with it, and once we're having fun, it will carry on the floor. So
you got to protect home court, and I don't see your girls backing down from anybody. They're not afraid of anybody, so it should make for, if nothing else, very entertaining on Thursday night when the Dragons welcome in Cedarville. So, Coach, have yourself a great week. I know you got more preparation to do as we get ready for Thursday, and then on Saturday, I know you're not supposed to look ahead. That's what I do. You're not supposed to. You take care of what's in front of you.
Yeah, who do we play Saturday?
I'll tell you on Friday.
All right.
But, yeah, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Give your kids the best. Oh, before you go, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good.
And you got to see Grandma and Grandpa when you were in Pennsylvania last time, a couple weekends. We didn't get a chance to talk last week because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but you said you were going to get a chance to see Grandma and Grandpa. Did you get a chance to?
I did. They made their way out to Pittsburgh. We met. We did, a couple dinners together there on the road, and
it's a different smile that I'm used to seeing for Coach Miriam. It's just a little bit different.
But it's always good. You're happiest when you're with your people. And I tell our girls that too. Mom, Dad, if they want to meet us for post-game meal or pre-game meal, absolutely. I'm happy when I'm with my people. They're happy when they're with their people. And I'm glad we had Thanksgiving morning practice, but most of the girls were able to get home.
Awesome.
And spend, some lunch and dinner with their families. So that was important there.
Did you run all the Thanksgiving feast off of them the next morning?
Yeah. We made sure for that Friday practice we got back in.
My son plays high school basketball, and he said that Friday practice was the hardest practice they've had this year.
Well, we had a game Saturday, so I couldn't
do it too much.
But I think they'll tell you we did just enough.
Well, as I said, Thursday night tip-off, 5:30 p.m. The Dragons here against Cedarville. We'd love to see you in the house here at the Gilmore Student Center at the Old Fort Bank Court. But if by chance some emergency comes up and you can't be here, you can always watch it at the Great Midwest Digital Network or listen to us at tudragonradio.com. Looking forward to it, Coach, on Thursday. When you look at the schedule, I think this is one that probably some of the folks are highlighting as one of the big games to get the conference season started. You always want to start off best foot forward. So let's go get them on Thursday, and we'll see how everything falls after that.
Absolutely. Thanks for us. Appreciate it.
That's Coach Miriam Justinger. She's the head coach of our Tiffin University women's basketball team, and this has been your weekly look at Tiffin University Basketball, Dragon Basketball Weekly.